she had adopted from her mother. The dog's name was Mr. Bean, and her and Mr. Bean used to go for walks along the one of the main roads that kind of leads right into Toronto. And there was a slaughterhouse, maybe just like 5 minutes from downtown. It was really, really close to the city. It was in the city, and the trucks. It was a pig slaughterhouse, and the trucks used to come in on the street on Lakeshore, and they had to stop and make a left turn. But because it was a really busy street, because it was a really busy street, they had to stop for a long time usually. So Anita would go up to the truck. Well, the first time she went up to the truck and she saw these animals in it, she saw the pigs, and she really didn't see a difference between Mr. Bean and these animals on the truck, and it really impacted her. And she made a promise to these pigs on this truck that she would be there for them well, 3 times a week, she said. And for years, Anita went 3 times a week and had a vigil. She was, maybe by herself, but sometimes people started joining her because they wanted to be there as well. And there was a little, how do you say? It's like an island in the middle of, so you have traffic, but there was a little piece of concrete there, an island, where they would stand, and that island called Pig Island. That's what they named it. And even when it came into the newspapers and stuff like that, they would call that little area there Pig Island, where people would wait and the trucks would come in. And at one point they started giving water to the pigs because they noticed on the really hot summer days these pigs were just dying of thirst. So she would give water to the pigs, and people slowly started joining, and the groups got bigger. But for the first few years, it was just in Toronto, and then there was a second group that started, and then a third group. But over the last 2 years, and especially with the... does everyone know about the story how Anita got charged for giving water? Yeah. Does anyone not know that story? Everyone knows. Okay.
We signed the petition.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy that it got international news, because it's crazy that they tried to put a woman in jail for doing such a compassionate action of giving somebody that's dying of thirst water. It's crazy, but I think that really just gave more exposure to the movement. And right now there are about 250 groups around the world, and they're opening almost every day. There's another group starting. And Anita's vision when she started this, when it was just one person there, was that there would be groups at every slaughterhouse in the world, showing what's going on there, showing that we're obviously not okay with this, and we're there for the victims coming in. It's grown really quickly. When I do a presentation at the different festivals or the animal rights congresses, and I show a graph, the graph is year one group, maybe 2 groups, 5 groups, and then it goes, it shoots up, and it just exploded. There are groups on every continent, not in Antarctica of course, but every continent. What else? Yeah, it keeps growing. And on this trip, there's been a lot of groups that have started for the first time in new countries. So Paraguay, Uruguay, Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, all got their first groups. Austria just started. Spain is really starting to take off. We're going to go there after this. We're going to Spain for the vegan festival in Alicante, and then we're going to travel around Spain for a while. What else? Yeah, but it's been beautiful to see it, and there's also very unique ways that groups bear witness, because bearing witness, is everyone familiar with the Tolstoy quote that kind of... Yeah, so Anita really really likes Tolstoy. She follows a lot of different philosophers and stuff, but she really likes Tolstoy. And Tolstoy, I always screw it up. I don't know it perfectly, but it's like when the suffering of another being causes you to want to flee, resist the urge to look away from them, and instead come as close as you can to the person or to the one who suffers, and try to help. And really the whole movement is based on that. So many people ask us why do you or they say, I'm vegan, I don't need to go, I already see that, I already know, because they don't want to confront the sadness that they're going to feel, and it's natural. When you see suffering, you don't want to look at it, especially if you think that you can't do anything to help. But Tolstoy says, and I believe it too, it's you try and do something. And what we're doing here is not you know, it's not huge, but it's something. It's the most we can do right now. We can't stop these animals from going in, but I say at the very least, we don't ignore it. You know, we're here, we're not ignoring it. And, you know, over time, and I think with people getting to, you know this movement around the world, they start recognizing that, you know, it's kind of shedding a light. It's putting a spotlight on this slaughterhouse and all the slaughterhouses that normally they want to operate in the dark. It's surprising actually that this slaughterhouse is here in this neighborhood, because usually they're kind of in just where nobody can see, nobody can hear. Yeah. And just to talk about today, this is a bit of a unique scenario where we haven't seen a lot of trucks today, and it's a very strange thing that we do going to vigils, because we come here wanting to see animals, and we might be a little disappointed when we don't see trucks coming in, but at the same time that also means that there aren't animals coming in to be killed. So it's a weird scenario, and you know, it's you know, in an ideal world we come here when the animals show up, but it's unpredictable sometimes. So you know, I hope you don't feel, you know, bad in a way that we didn't see a lot of animals. We saw a few, and there's still a little bit of time, but it's really strange, right? How we want to see animals, but we don't want to see animals here.
Yes.
It's really strange. Yeah. But that's the story of how it started. It's really a beautiful story. And Anita, I mean, if you think about how she doesn't like the attention, you know, and she always makes sure that she says she's the co-founder. She's not the founder, because Mr. Bean was the same, like had the same role. Mr. Bean was always there with Anita. But really, like, her dedication to going every time, 3 times a week, was really something that inspired a lot of people in Toronto, and then inspired people around the world. So what we hope is that, you know, when we leave here and you're left here, is that you keep this going, and that you keep kind of leading by example and showing other people here in Croatia that, hey, you know what, we need to be here, show other vegans, show other activists, hey, this is a good thing to do, is to go and to bear witness. You know, and you do it as often as possible. Some groups start doing it once a month, some do it twice a month, some do it every week. It depends on the size of the group and, you know, what you're willing to do. Also, even if it's a small group, even if it's just 4 or 5 people, or 1 car, for example, come, do it. You know, it doesn't matter that it's a small group. Sometimes small groups are nice. You get to connect more. It's a little, it's a different feeling when it's a smaller group. But small, it's fine, you know. Anita used to go by herself when she had to, so yeah.